Alright, welcome to the Sports News Insider College Football Blog. I'm your man Akeem, and you already know what time it is. Today is Wednesday, and I need to give you my key matchups and predictions for Week 8 of the college football season. Now, before I begin, I would like to talk about the BCS standings. At number 1 is LSU, narrowly behind them is Alabama, Oklahoma's number 3, and at number 4 is Oklahoma State. Due to their big win over Ole Miss last week, Alabama closed the gap to LSU, becoming one of the top teams to be number 1. Now, LSU still has a little slight edge over them because of their performance against ranked teams. Now, I think at the end of the season, Oklahoma's going to be playing Oklahoma State, and in a couple of weeks from now, Alabama's going to be hosting LSU. And I think the winner of these two matchups are going to determine who's going to play in that BCS title game. Now, there are still a couple of other teams who are still undefeated in college football, like Boise State at number 5, number 6 is Wisconsin, number 7 is Clemson, and at number 8 is Stanford. Ranked 11th is Kansas State. Kansas State is still undefeated, a good Wildcat team led by Coach Bill Snyder. Now, I think between these remaining 5 teams, I don't really think they have a chance of making it to that national championship due to the strength of schedule. Maybe Kansas State because they're part of the Big 12 Conference. Now, the Big 12 Conference has had a couple of big marquee matchups between Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. Texas against Oklahoma, and then at the end of the season, Oklahoma's going to be facing Oklahoma State. And we already know about the SEC Conference. They're the toughest conference in college football, and the winner of that conference will definitely make it to that national championship. And I think it's between LSU and Alabama. Now, the other teams, Wisconsin and Clemson, they are great teams, but their lack of the strength of schedule is not as good as against the teams of the Big East, of the Big 12 and the SEC. So I don't think even if they remain undefeated, they're not going to make it to the national championship. But they still have hope. We still got a lot of college football played left in the season, a lot of marquee matchups, and anything can happen. If LSU, Oklahoma State, or Alabama loses a couple of matches coming towards the end of the season, there's still spark hopes for the remaining undefeated teams. But we still got a lot of college football play to talk about, and I'll keep you posted on these marquee matchups. Now, it's time for me to give you my games of the week. Starting tomorrow night, Arizona's going to be hosting UCLA. Both teams pretty much suck. They're playing like garbage, but the reason why I mention this matchup is because Arizona still has not won a Pac-12 game this season thus far. They're 0 for 4, and I think they have a chance of beating the UCLA Bruins. The Bruins are going to have to start quarterback Kevin Prince over Richard Brehart. Brehart suffered a leg injury last week against Washington State, so Kevin Prince is going to be that starting quarterback against the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona has a better passing attack, while UCLA has a better run game. But with the experience of Nick Foles, and plus this is a home game for Arizona, I'm going to have to go with the Wildcats in this matchup. On Friday, West Virginia is going to be playing Syracuse. Syracuse is going to be moving to the ACC, and they're looking to spoil the Mountaineer season of their BCS hopes. But I think the Mountaineers are still going to win the Big East and win this game against Syracuse. So I'm going to have to go with West Virginia. Next, Oklahoma State's going to have a tough matchup against a good Missouri team led by quarterback James Franklin. It's going to be at Missouri. Missouri finally boosted up some momentum last week due to their big win against Iowa State, 52-17, and they're looking to spoil Oklahoma State's season. This is going to be a key matchup to look at. I'm going to have to go with Oklahoma State. Brandon Wheaton's going to step up this year. He kind of struggled against Texas last week, but I think he's going to have a big game this week with Justin Blackman as his leading target. Cincinnati's going to be going to South Florida, a big Big East matchup. South Florida started their season well, 4-0, but lost their last 2 games, Big East Conference games, and they were even my sleepers for the Big East championship. Now, I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati in this matchup. They're 5-1. Quarterback Zach Collaros, he's having a good connection with his receivers, plus Isaiah Pease is averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. And also, their defense is averaging 16.5 points allowed per game this season. So I'm going to have to go with the Bearcats in an upset at South Florida's home field. Next game I need to talk about, LSU, number 1 overall, is going to be facing Auburn. Auburn struggled offensively against Florida, and that pretty much says it all. Now, LSU is going to be playing without star cornerback Tyrann Mathieu and Spencer Ware, the running back, due to off-the-field issues that Les Miles suspended them from this particular game. But I still think LSU has a tough defense, the scariest defense defense in college football, and I think they're going to crush the Auburn Tigers. So I'm going to have to go with LSU. Clemson had a scare last week against Maryland, and they're hosting the North Carolina Tar Heels, and this is going to be an interesting matchup. North Carolina lost last week to Miami, and they're facing another speedy team in Clemson. I think Clemson woke up last week. They understand that they still have some tough obstacles ahead of them in the season, and they're still on the verge of making it to that national championship. They need to stay undefeated, and first they're looking forward to making that ACC title run. So I'm going to have to go with Clemson with all the talent that they're having. Andre Ellington had a big game last week against Maryland, 213 yards rushing, and I mentioned Sammy Watkins, the best freshman in college football. I think he's going to have another big game, so I'm going to have to go with Clemson in this game. Big time Pac-12 matchup between Stanford and Washington. Now, we all know about quarterback Andrew Luck of the Stanford Cardinal, but Washington quarterback Keith Price, he's having a big season. 21 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, over 1,000 yards passing, and he is underrated, and not that many people are talking about him in college football. He was in a quarterback battle between him and Nick Montana, but he won the job, and he's doing a brilliant job. He's a young sophomore kid quarterback. He's getting a little bit more experience, but not enough to compete against the Stanford Cardinals, who is in the top 5 in points allowed defensively. So I'm going to have to go with Stanford in this game. My upset pick of the week, here we go. I'm going to go with Miami over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was upset last week to Virginia at Virginia. Now, they were held to under 272 yards rushing, and I think Miami needs to do the same thing. They really need to focus on stopping the run. The key for Miami to win this game is that defensively they have to understand their roles in stopping that triple option attack that Georgia rushes. Georgia is number 2 in the nation in rushing, and then they're going to use that triple option against Miami. And Miami just the defensive players for Miami needs to be disciplined in this game. And I think with their speed plus Ja'Cory Harris and Lamar Miller on offense, I think they have a chance of beating the Yellow Jackets in this game. So I'm going to have to go with Miami with my upset. Now, the game of the week. Wisconsin's going on a tough road match between the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State has a good defense, especially with that D-line, and that is the key matchup for this game. The Michigan State D-line against the O-line of the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, Wisconsin has a great offense, and they have a terrific running back in Monte Ball, who has 16 touchdowns this season because of that O-line, opening up gaps for him, and that's going to be the key matchup. Their O-line against the D-line of Michigan State. Michigan State has a good D-line led by Jarrell Worley. They have good techniques. They use a good stick drill at practice to work on their technique and shedding blockers, and I think they're probably going to cause problems against the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin has been doing great this season at home, and this is going to be a tough road test. I'm going to have to go with Wisconsin in this matchup. Russell Wilson put up big numbers in this game and boost up his Heisman status and being that #1 candidate for the Heisman Trophy winner that I have. I think he's a brilliant quarterback, plus Monte Ball, and he has a good weapon in Nick Toon at the receiver position. So I think with those 3 weapons and how much momentum they're doing well on these games, they're actually leading the nation in scoring with 50 and 3rd in the nation in points allowed. They have a good balance offense and defense. I'm going to have to go with the Wisconsin Badgers in this matchup. Now, you already know the next time I'm going to catch you guys is on Monday, when I'm going to recap of Week 8 of the college football games. Thank you for watching today's vlog. From Sports News Insider, I'm your boy, Akeem McCall. Be easy.